Um, okay, I think we can start now. Like I said earlier, we would be having a connected session on gender empowerment, and to have that discussion today, I'll call these diligent people to have that conversation here. So first on the panelists to join me would be Aissatou Seka. Aissatou Seka is currently the founder of Women and Children Aid the Gambia, and also a very renowned activist as far as gender empowerment is concerned. So please, let's give her a round of applause as she takes her seat. And right after that, we have Elizabeth Kinta-Gomez. Elizabeth Kinta-Gomez is currently the vice chairperson for the KMYC, which is the Carnegie Municipal Youth Committee, and then she would be here to have this discussion with us. So, Ms. Elizabeth, you are welcome. And we also have a representative from the Girls Agenda, Mariama. If you're around, you're welcome to join us on stage. And we also have a gentleman that will be joining us today to have this discussion, who is no other person than Mr. Mudlamin Jajusi, who is also a member of the Girls Empowerment Initiative for Education in the Gambia. You're welcome. Thank you very much. And just to remind us that this site activity was funded by UNFPA, and I think for far too long we've been seeing their work both in urban and rural Gambia as far as issues of gender empowerment is concerned, issues of women and the well-being of children is concerned. So we understand when it comes to issues of inequality in jobs, education, leadership, these are all areas that encompasses gender. So to start the conversation, I would head to Mariama from the Girls Agenda to tell us what their institution is doing in terms of gender empowerment and some of the initiatives that they're currently running.
Good afternoon, everyone. The Girls Agenda is a women-led organization that works with women and girls. Our work mostly focuses on adolescent girls by empowering them through education and also leadership activities. So as the Girls Agenda, we only don't stop working with girls in schools, but also we work with women in the communities, whereby we empower them through other means of activities in a way where we train them on some of the these entrepreneurship things that has to do with food processing and other things related to that. So we are not only focusing on empowering girls only in schools, but also in communities.
Okay, I think that's quite laudable. So long as the focus is not just on girls that are in school, but you're also focusing on girls that are out of school as well. This way, it brings this all-inclusive approach. Now, my next question would be addressed to Mr. Jajusi. I understand you guys have an initiative that runs around education and empowerment. And when you talk about education and empowerment, we want to see how that could reduce gender inequality, especially in education. Because yesterday, when we had the ministerial discussion, the Minister for Higher Education actually made a very interesting statement, which is when it comes to the composition of students, which is when you compare boys to girls, in the secondary schools, let's say from grade 9 to primary 1, girls outnumber the boys. But then as you grow into the system, you realize, especially in tertiary institutions, we have lesser girls compared to that of the lower levels. So we would want you to take us through some of the inequalities in terms of education. What are some of the barriers that are hindering girls from accessing education all the way to tertiary level, uninterrupted?
Thank you very much, Mariama, and good afternoon to everyone. It's quite a lot, if you ask me. Over the years, we've been doing a lot of interventions, not only for government and civil society organizations, but even among individuals at certain levels. We've done so many activities here and there, but then the question still is, are girls accessing the education that they desire? Remember, we're not just talking about the quantity of education or the number of schools or the number of girls going to school. Instead, we are questioning the quality of that education that is being provided to women and girls in this country. Now, at the Girls Education or Empowerment Initiative in the Gambia, what we focus on is promoting education, but girls' education, that is mainstreaming education or closing the inequality gap between boys and girls in the education school. Of course, this would include all-inclusive education for women and girls. This, however, goes in line with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal, 4, which is quality education, and then 5, gender empowerment, as these two goes together. Now, when it comes to inequality in education, especially challenges that women and girls face, we've seen quite a number of them happening. Of recent, we've had one of them, discussed with National Assembly members, religious leaders here and there, which is FGM is one of the most challenging factors for girls' education in this country. Then you talk about child marriage or forced or early marriage. It's also a hindrance to girls' education. Sexual and reproductive health rights, menstrual health or menstrual poverty. These are issues that affect girls' education. You talk about domestic violence here and there. These are all things that interrupts the 12 years of educational system that women and girls are supposed to enjoy or have right to actually enjoy in the country. Despite the numerous things that have been done or the numerous improvements or development that have been made, we still believe that there is still a lot to do, and that is why at our level we make sure we promote and push the agenda for women and girls' education in school, closing the inequality gap between boys and girls in schools. Thank you.
As the saying goes, an empowered nation is one major recipe for development. Now, I would bring my question to Aissatou Seka. Notably, you've been involved in a lot of advocacies around gender empowerment, around gender issues to be specific. And one thing that we realize is the low level of women when it comes to representation across the different arms of government, but also in other public spheres as well. How has this able to hinder the development of women, mostly in representation and when it comes to taking major decisions that surrounds our lives in the Gambia?
Thank you very much, Mariama. I think that's a very good question. I'll take myself as an example. As most of you know, I am the first ever female elected chairperson in the Gambia. And I believe in preaching what you practice. So most of the time, we have seen people advocating for women leadership without them taking the leadership role. So this is why I've seen a lot of girls, when we come to our regional youth committees even, most of the regions, their vice chairperson are women. So why are women not going for the position of chairperson? So this is how I came up with the idea that I have to contest at being the first ever female elected chairperson in the Gambia to be able to continue my advocacy when it comes to women participation in decision-making process. But now coming to the Gambia, we have seen that we normally say that women, the population of women is more than 50%. So, but when it comes to decision-making, when it comes to women leadership, it is very minimal. We are less than 10%. Look at the National Assembly. We have about 6 women in the parliament out of 56. When it comes to the council, let's look at KMC as an example. Out of 19 wards, you only have 3 women that are elected into position. Let's look at our different wards as well. When it comes to community level, all that they see women doing is clapping, dancing, and most of the time we can say that we are the people that put all these people into positions. We are the ones that make them who they are. And the problem is not about capacity, no. Because when we look at the university, we have seen a lot of women graduating. We have seen potential women leaders in the Gambia. But there are a lot of challenges that we are facing as women. As most of them normally say, politics is expensive. And women don't have the resources to invest into politics. Number 2, another problem that we have is the cyberbullying. We have seen a woman that had a child out of wedlock being discriminated on the social media. We have seen women that have done 1 or 2 things, and people are just coming out accusing. And we have seen our fellow women putting the other women candidates down. And these are reasons why women are scared of going into politics. This is why women are scared of going to take leadership role. Like, for example, myself, when I sit and jokingly tell my mom that I wanted to contest in the 2021 parliamentary election, my mom told me clearly, "Soy dem general ma 7 meter per kalmatek." Why? Because she's scared of the things that will come out. You are accused, it affects you, not only you, but it affects your family. So these are things that made women to be scared of going into politics, but I believe the reason is not about competency. If it's education, we have it. If it's awareness, we are aware. But the main two problems are the bullying, the discrimination that we face. Another thing is the resources, because most of the women, even when it comes to job, let's look at the workplaces. We have seen men being promoted more than women. Why? Because they're scared that, especially married women, are more discriminated. When the position of a manager comes, they look at you and say, "You are married. You will go for 6 months maternity leave." You know? Instead of them giving you the position, they rather give it to a man that is not taking the 6 months maternity leave. So these are all things that are hindering our progress as a nation when it comes to the work, when it comes to the politics, when it comes to women in decision-making process.
Thank you very much. I think that was quite insightful. Now, Ms. Gomez, I want to point the conversation to your end. For a very long time, we've been having instances of girls being insecure about places to go to because of the numerous assaults, sexual assaults, eventually leading to rape being happening. And these were things that we used to think only happen to girls. But now, interestingly, in the Gambia, we are having cases about even boys being potential victims of rape. And then the rate has been on the increase, and then I think it's a cause for concern. What are some of the advocacy measures that you're taking at your level as the vice chairperson of a whole constituent? What are some of the advocacy measures that you're taking in ensuring that you're able to push further to ensure that we have a safer space for our girls, but also for the boys as well?
Mariama, I would just want to say that when we talk about women's rights, it is a basic human right. And when we talk about women's rights, it should be everybody's business. And the minute we are not serious about women's issues, women's rights, it means we are not serious about our lives. It means we are not serious about the lives of the future generation. We are not just here to talk about the percentages of women and women in positions and women who are not. It starts from somewhere, the grassroots. We are talking about abuse right now. That is your question. And yesterday in one of the sessions, I think the one that talked about children, I had someone say, when we spoke about the rise of the rape cases and how many rape cases were registered in a year, some people thought it was something that we should celebrate because of the number that we have registered. But at some point, it is a call for alarm. And we are not taking things seriously. At the end of the day, how many of those cases have reached where they're supposed to reach? How many of those cases, how many of those abusers are persecuted? How many of those cases have reached the courts? And those are just cases that were numbered. How many other cases do we have that are not numbered and up to date we are hiding under the bedsheet? In my own little way, one thing I am keen in doing is when I know of certain cases, I follow it to the latter. First, we ensure that the few cases that we know, we would ensure that those cases reach where it is supposed to reach. I can remember during the COVID-19 pandemic, there was this case that was a well-known case in the country, and people were talking about it all over social media. Some people believed in the victim, but majority of the people on social media, and even people I know, even as we speak as of today, would still blame the victim over and over again and will never raise a hand to say, I believe her. they would choose to believe the perpetrator instead. And some people even went up to a point of using a phrase, innocent until proven guilty. I think we need to reflect on the things we say and the things we do as a community. Personally, I came into contact with someone who was also writing all around innocent until proven guilty. And one night as I was sleeping, the person called me to say their friend's younger sister of 7-year-old was raped. And I asked the person, are you sure it is the man that did it? Yes, the man is over 35 years. And then I reminded the person, innocent until proven guilty. But that did not stop us from aiding that person to ensure that they got the justice that they needed. However, in aiding someone, sometimes you get a lot of constraints. First, you would want to have someone report to the nearest police station. You would be the one following the case, and their family members will call them for a meeting to say, suturanyo. Or you would reach an instance where you were supposed to go to court, they will go to court and pardon the perpetrator without you knowing.
Okay, so I think the issue of silencing victims have been going on for a very long time. For a very long time, we would see cases being up and running, and before you know it, we no longer have a say in how the case ends in most cases. Now, my question goes back to Mariama. I realized notably that the girls' agenda is mostly involved in, I would call it resilience building when you ask, because you're trying to build up the capacities of these girls that you work with. So far in your advocacy, maybe you highlight what are some of the downsides or the challenges that you've experienced when it comes to some of the initiatives that you're currently doing?
Great. So looking at the activities that we have been doing and our intervention, in every work that we do, you always face challenges. It is obvious. But coming back to our communities and our girls, you will tend to realize that most of our community interventions, especially with the teenage mothers, you'll find it difficult to get them on board to participate on some of these things that we are doing, more especially to share their experiences, especially when it comes to rape and the like. So it's always challenging to get them in order for them to participate. But when it comes to also, in terms of our girls, you will tend to realize that our intervention in the rural areas is also something that is helping, but also challenging, because when you get to the rural areas, a lot of girls are not exposed to some of these activities. So you will know that it is really, really challenging when it comes to discussions like this, most especially like when you want to discuss a specific topic like FGM or menstrual health hygiene. It is something that always comes as a drama, because now we are used to it. But when you start talking about some of these things or some of these issues, it is always challenging, because you will not see the willingness in them to participate. And sometimes getting them on board from their parents as well is also another problem. Because most of us, or most of our parents, will not want our children to participate in some of these things. So it's always a problem. But as an organization, or as a women's rights organization, we always make sure we have a means in order to get or reach out to these children or these young women who are always behind, not wanting to participate on some of these things.
Thank you very much for that, and I think it's quite important. Now, Ms. Seka, I want us to discuss on something, because I've seen that most of the civil society actors heavily invest in advocacy, but it is also difficult to penetrate into some cultural norms and some cultural values that some of these communities or groups of people believe. Say, for example, when you look at the issue of incest, to cut it short, incest is when an individual actually has sexual contact with a family member that they're not supposed to, like let's say between a father and a daughter, or between a mother and a son. The reaction from the general Gambian is, lol munta am. a father cannot rape a daughter. And these are realities that we live with in our societies. These are issues that sometimes when you tell people, they pretend to maybe rug it under the carpet like it doesn't exist. But these are realities that we live with every day. And we also look at another perspective of the challenges, which is the victim blaming. Say, for example, when somebody is raped, people question, why was she there? What was she wearing? You know, and then people think the only time you can qualify rape is when, let's say, it was rough or let's say unplanned or any of that. So we want, still on the advocacy, how do you see some of these very strong cultural beliefs that we live with, and how do you break it to ensure you're able to get over or maneuver with it in your advocacies through the communities?
Thank you very much, Mariama. Apart from KMYC, as you introduced, I'm the founder of Women and Children Aid, the Gambia. So in Women and Children Aid, we have some of our ambassadors that are here. They're young girls and boys, because when it comes to the organization, we believe in catching them young. So we believe having the younger generation, taking the lead, building their capacities, allowing them to go out there and talk to their parents, talk to their siblings will be more effective. We have seen the civil society, they have done a lot of work when it comes to the advocacy side. But most of the time as well, we have seen them, instead of complementing each other's effort, it is more of doing the same thing, going to the same community, and the impact is not much. So what we are doing when it comes to our organization is we go to the community women. That is, most of the time we target the couples when they're having their weekly osusu. We go to them and talk to them. And we have seen that this have really helped when it comes to community issues, especially when it comes to rape cases. When it comes to Bundung, these are, I don't know how to say it, these are typical women that believe in keeping, that believe in the culture of silence. They don't want to talk about rape, they don't want to talk about menstruation and all that. Most of the time when I talk to the girls in the community, they will come and I'm like, hey, you know, you have to do this as a woman, as a young girl, and that and that. So this woman will shout on me. I said, you should not tell them this will spoil them and all that. But during the 16 days of activism, we went to that community and we sit with these women and talk to them the effect of rape. Like, they don't understand what it does to the victim. Most of the time, it affects us for the rest of your life. We have seen most of the victims that don't even want to get married in their life. They're scared of men. The moment you tell them, I love you, they start running. And it affects them, it damages them. It's because of what they went through, and their parents told them to keep quiet. Don't say it out. But these women now, they're serving as ambassadors in the community. They're going out, any rape case that they hear, they will just go and report it direct to the police. And we also supported them and take them through the reporting channels, how to go about it. And this is really paying dividend. And I believe if we really want to address this as civil society organization, we should target the grassroots. Let's target the women that are in the community, the young girls. It's not only about the girls, but the boys as well. They are our partners when it comes to this, because they're the one raping us. Men are the people raping us. You know? They're the one raping us. So we really need to involve them in these conversations. It's really important. They need to be involved in this conversation. And you know, like we have been talking about men raping us because we are reporting. But a lot of men are raped. A lot of men are abused. But our society, the gender perspective that we have, the mindset that we have, is men should not talk. The moment a man goes out and report that he is raped, imagine the discrimination that that man will go through.
Right.
You know, these are things that we really need to look at. The conversation have to be between the two parties, both the men and the women.
Okay.
All of us need to come together to be able to address this issue. But it's not only one gender, but we can say that we are more affected. Women are more affected, and the only solution is to go back to the grassroots level, build their capacity, and most of the time as well, one advice that I will give to civil society organization, when you go to a community, get down to their level.
Right.
Don't go and think that you know everything. When we started our advocacy and we started meeting these women CAFOs, these students, I was surprised that these students were telling us things that we don't even know. Don't go to a community and think you know everything. You only know what you know, but you didn't know what the person know. Right. You know? So these are things that we need to be very careful of, and let's get back to the grassroots level and also catch the younger generation.
Men are also raped is where I would direct the question to Mr. Jajusi, because most of the time we realize that these are issues that are not talked about. And then even on mental health advocacies, they'll say it's okay for a guy to cry. But imagine walking to a room, finding a guy at his corner crying. These people are stereotyped to be called, they are soft to the point. Some people even, use this term, they'll call them gorjigen, oh, you're soft. When you're too expressive or too elaborative with your emotions, how can sharing a part of your problem help in your recovery process is what I want you to touch on.
Thank you, Mariam. Before we go there quickly, I want to say that the culture of silence has been a killer disease in our community for the past, how many years? Forever. Now, this is a thing that we need to talk about. And I think most of the time it's best we say it in our local language. Now, our fathers would say, Lunyo nopo nopal, suyagyo nop. You understand? Imeta mem mabola, ngamita basunkanal. The lineka sunkeri, whatever is in our houses, reflects on us as individuals when we go out to other people. Whatever we face inside our houses, whatever we say inside our houses, whatever we do or eat, you go outside, it reflects on your faces. And this is what is happening in our community. Now, you talk, Aisha, when you talk about rape happening, it reflects in the houses they come from most of the time. I mean, it's not always the cases. I stand to be corrected. But most of the time, these are what happened. When you talk about domestic violence, because lolo laham I all along. That is what he sees in his house. That is what he sees in his environment. And that always tends to reflect on other people. What we should do at this point, now there's something that Auntie Adelaide Sosa keeps telling us, that whatever we are talking about right now, there are people who already did talk about it. And if we are not careful in our advocacy and sensitization, there would be people after us who would be talking about the same issue. That means we've not actually done anything. We've had several conferences, several workshops here and there. We fly to every country and come back. But what has changed? Although a lot of changes have been made along the line, but we want to see a policy advocacy, especially at national levels. I'll take girls' education, for example. Now, in 2017, I personally would say this everywhere, because it's an achievement. We moderated a high panel discussion with 16 ministers of education across Africa in Zambia, Lusaka. Now, the theme of that place, or the policy that was adopted by 33 different African chapters, was to make sure that when you go back to your respective countries, adopt the Mop Out of School initiative to say that teenage mothers, those who got pregnant and fall along the line in education, are being reintegrated back into the educational system. Today, I am very, very happy to say that in the Gambia, teenage mothers are being reintegrated back into the educational curriculum. That is a plus, and that is a policy we want to push when it comes to men having issues and emotions to deal with. We've heard this so many times, tons of time numbers, Mariam. They will tell you, "You're joy, and I do good." And then kula wahne loy joy, nga feka ko ñu ko serve very hot breakfast mu tok di joy si bir nega. So I think the issue here, or the discussion, should be, let us be attentive as much as possible. Let us be considerate as much as possible. Let us be expressive as much as possible. Let us be empathic as much as possible towards ourselves and towards other people. Ngima bala fa soto no fonge do ko muna amal kenen. Ngima la fi fongo la do muna buga kenen. So at all levels, we must make sure that the continuous advocacy, the continuous levels of discussions that we make, even among ourselves, goes beyond the idea of, oh, hey, are you a gender activist? Oh, hey, I'm also a gender activist. Come on, can we initiate and do this thing? It should really go beyond that. There should be a passion, a level of commitment, a love and a dedication for something before we're able to actually achieve it. And I think we've been doing that over the years, and we want to continue doing that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jajusi. I know you'll say I've been putting you on the spotlight, but I think it's important we discuss this. It takes genuine progressive policies to advance any initiative in this country. And then we've seen that when it comes to the post-dictatorial states that we were trying to work on, I'll make reference to few instances prior to my question. When you look at in our post-transitional processes, we had 3 major elements that were very much key. One which was the TRRC, and then we've seen how things unfolded, wherein issues of rape, even in the prisons, popped up as we were talking. We had protocol officers that made similar comments about remarks being made about their sexualities, which are all assaults, if you ask. And we saw that when it comes to another element of the transitional process, which is the draft constitution, which was very progressive because it had laws that protected women, and it has also the quota system and most other progressive laws that other advanced countries are putting into the laws of their land. And we saw that it was, I wouldn't say dead, but currently it's in coma for a very long time. As a gender advocate and someone that has been into the space of civil society advancing women issues, how did you take the reaction first? And where do you think it has taken us? Because personally, I feel we were making progress, but when the draft was choked out of the parliament, it's like we took a step forward and 10 steps backward. In our advocacy, as of now, what is the status quo? Making reference to the laws that are supposed to protect us as a country, Aissatou.
I would have been happy to have some of the parliamentarians here, but it still comes back. We have one of our councillors here, Joko. Joko is here, she's the new councillor for Bundu. To me, there's still a lot that needs to be done when it comes to policies that support, that will be able to enhance the participation of women into decision-making process. The draft constitution was the big hope for a lot of women in the Gambia. It was a big hope that things will change. And when the draft constitution was thrown out, we also tried our level best to ensure that we brought the gender, the quota system as well. There was a lot of work done. A lot of work have been done. Consultations, we met the party leaders, we met the NAMs, we met the grassroots people, we met the community leaders, we met all the stakeholders, all the relevant stakeholders. And we were given that 100% assurance that it will work. But we could see what had happened. You know, most of the time, let's just say the fact, like most of the politicians, when they are doing their political campaign, what do they say? Women empowerment, youth empowerment. But at the end of the day, are we the real target? Are they really honest with us? Are they really giving us what we deserve? The quota system will have been the best thing that they could have given to the women of the Gambia. But with all the efforts that have been done, with the money that is invested and everything, imagine the day that this bill was going to be presented in the parliament. We have seen some parliamentarians did not even go to the parliament that day because they said they were going for preliminary? They were going, you know, I pronouncing R is a problem for me. They were going for preliminaries at their party level, you know. This shows that they don't have the women of the Gambia at heart. So we believe that there's still a lot of advocacy that need to be done. There is still a lot of honest conversation that need to be done between us and these parliamentarians, us and these people, that the authorities. It doesn't only stop at the parliament, but again, when it comes to the ministry as well, the ministry that is responsible for gender. When we talk about gender, I know most of you, because we are talking about women. When we talk about gender equality, we are not saying we want 50-50, but what we want is allow us to talk for ourselves. We don't want to see men talking for us. I myself, I don't want a man to talk on my behalf as a woman. No. I want to sit on that table or have a woman that feel the pain that I go through to talk on my behalf. So this is what we are talking about. We are talking about the way men are going to school, the way men are educated. That's the same way we want to have the opportunity to be educated as women. The way men take leadership position, that's the same way we want to take leadership position as women. But the fight is not between the men and the women. This is one thing that they really need to understand. We are not fighting, but we want to be given what we deserve, what belongs to us. And how do we get this thing? It's through the engagement. It's through us having the honest conversation. It's through you supporting us, holding our hand and going with us. You cannot be going alone. It's not possible.
Right.
You know, we went to one community, and one alcalo told us, if you see men sitting at the bantaba and discuss and did not come to term, and they say, know that they are going to consult their wives at home. And the next day when they come, each and every one of them will come with a very brilliant idea. You will think that they went and think about it. It wasn't them. It was women. You know? So even them themselves, they knows about it. So the main thing that we are advocating for is we need to have a lot of policies in place. We need to advocate for policies to be put in place. We want it to be written black and white on the papers so that we'll be able to take the things that we deserve.
Aissatou, thank you so much for that. I think that was quite insightful. And I think as you were speaking, I could see the radiance and then the vibrance from these young ladies that we have in the room, and from the way you were nodding and asserting to the things that she's saying. I'm very optimistic of the future. And like it is said, the future is her and the future is female, and that is a dream that we are trying to pursue here. For men, sorry, we're not trying to be biased, but then let's enjoy the spotlight. So my next question would be to you, Ms. Gomez. In as much as we talk about women empowerment, women in leadership, sometimes we have these issues coming up as a society. Once a woman is promoted to a specific position, people think it wasn't through the right track. She must have done something at the corner to get it. These are realities that we live in our societies. Let's say, like the political space has been dominated by men for a very long time, even though we still have some few women trying to break the barriers. And I think as a success story, we would say this irrespective of our political affiliations. One major key role model that most of us look up to is the Honorable Mayor for Banjul. You may not subscribe to her political camp, you may not subscribe to her political beliefs, but one thing that you would respect for her is the fact that she has the people that she's representing at heart. And the fact that she's the elected president for Rafela, which is like an association of all local government authorities in Africa, and that too from the very small Gambia, should be a clear-cut indication and a clear evidence that women can do it once they're given the chance to take up leadership roles. Now, the challenges that women face when it comes to trying to assume leadership positions is where I want us to have the conversation, both from the cultural, all the aspects that affects us as women, from the very grassroots level all the way down to adult level. What are some of the challenges women go through?
Mariama, this is something I'm always very excited to answer. First is, I will take myself as an example before moving down. Sometime in 2017, I was just a student trying to mind my business in an institution of about 80% men. And I went for a meeting representing my department where I was supposed to come back and give a feedback, a meeting I was actually pushed to go to. And that was where we were told that the applications for the SU executive is about to open. And then the guy beside me just looked at me in the eye and said he wanted me to apply for a vice president. So I asked the guy, Why a vice president? Because one thing about me, I want to be sure of everything before I give you a reply. Why a vice president? And the person was so quick to say, because normally, the guy is the president and the lady is the vice. So I never answered. I just said, okay. And when I went home, I thought about this. In my heart, this was an insult. In my mind, I was about to reply to this guy. So I went back to my department that sent me, gave a feedback, and did a little bit of campaign and asked them, if I were to run for any position, would you support me? And they said yes. This was literally one of the biggest departments, so I was not scared when I got the backing of the department. So I went straight up and wrote an application to become president. In the campaign, the outgoing president, including most of the outgoing executive members, campaigned against me. And one thing that was said, there is a key challenge that most women face. The person said, because she is a lady, she's not going to be competent. One thing that I was good at was moving with guys. Sunyaye dem si ganaw fi gaay de campaign, manyaye dem si ganaw man ma campaign. And that was what got me that seat. So it is something that is really, I don't know, it's something that's really deteriorating for us to believe that women are meant to be assistants. And in most cases, the first thing that we concentrate on is their ability to lead instead of their ability or what they are going to offer to us. Most of the challenges that women face when they are in these positions, we've given an example of the Rafela president, the mayoress of Banjul. I love using mayoress. I want to show to people that it's a lady. Huh? So the mayoress of Banjul, we've seen most of the challenges that she faced during her campaign. People saw Marisok and others were saying, ki dafa dokka warambi, ki dafa def ni, kele dafa def lele. You are always keen on looking at what their outward appearances are instead of looking at what they can offer. I believe that we have a lot of incompetent men in positions and nobody is talking about it. We have a lot of competent women in positions, but what do we say at the end of the day? We look at the guy who is next to her and we believe ne koku mo neka di def ligay bi yep. We look at that lady and we want to sabotage. What we do is we go on the need and try to spoil all her policies and plans or activities that she has brought forward. Because it's a lady, what we do is when we are taking up measures for certain things, we do not involve her so as to just move out of whatever she is doing. Because it's a lady who is leading me, suwaheli mawahlele. So we have a lot of issues that are ongoing. We've talked about the discrimination. Thankfully, my boss made mention of the women and what we are doing. And however, we have more women who are competent. You know why this country is not going forward? Because it has been men since 1965. Jox leen ñu dëkk bi ñu liggéey ko.
I think this is one of the most interesting sessions I've attended so far. So my last question to Mariam would be, what is the most pressing issue right now, in your view? Because you've been to most of the communities, you've interacted with these girls, and then you're touching on one thing that is very much important, and it's not mostly talked about, which is the issue of menstrual poverty or period poverty. Growing up as kids or as teenagers, and I feel a lot of people also might share similar experiences, issues of how we are supposed to take care of ourselves, and questions around menstrual hygiene, myths around period were never discussed in the house. Most of the information we knew about periods or on how to take care of ourselves was at school, because most of our parents felt these were things that they should not be having everyday conversations about. It also boils down to sexual and reproductive awareness as well. You realize before in the education system we used to have this POP FLE, I don't know if some of you remembered, where we would have lessons on reproduction, sexual transmitted diseases. We had access to this information. But eventually the curriculum got reviewed along the way, and they actually removed it and mainstream it, I think, in the SES curriculum or science. But it's in one of the curriculums, I know for sure. But then the information is not enough. And this is where the CSO comes in, trying to educate the young girls about their selves, their sexualities, and also to pay attention to issues of sexual health, reproductive issues. And I see that the girls' agenda has been in the front line when it comes to these issues. But then there is no initiative, obviously, without challenges. And I know you've highlighted some, but then moving on, what are some of the initiatives you have towards these issues that I've mentioned, so that at least we can all share together?
Mariam, I will gladly answer this question, because when you first asked about the current issues. It's many. But one of the current issues, or one or two of the current issues, will be the rising issue of rape, and as well as the issue of FGM. But again, coming back to us, when we had one of our girls' empowerment camp not long ago, we had a community outreach where we meet participants and their parents. So this particular activity was basically focusing on FGM. But guess what? The topic has to change to menstrual health hygiene, because most of the parents, and because the children are there, but most of the parents don't want to talk about FGM, right? The moment we start our presentations on FGM, they all listen. But when it comes to participation, they don't want to talk. Then when we start our activity on menstrual health hygiene, they were all interested. Now you will see question coming from both left, right, and center, right? So I was like, okay, I cannot understand what is going on here. Then when that happened, I was like, okay, I think we will have to go back and look for another approach
and come up with another strategy.
Another strategy, yes, to get into this topic again.
Okay.
But it was really challenging.
All right. At this point, we would now invite questions from the audience. Already we have one, so if we can help. So we will take, say, 4 on the ground. They react to that, then we take another set. There is a mic there. There is a mic there. There is a mic there. Yes, we will balance it, don't worry. It's gender empowerment, so. Yes, so you tell us your name and your question. You can please stand up.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Moderator, and the panelists, and of course, my co-participants who are here today. Indeed, you guys did a wonderful deliberation. First, I will make a contribution and also a pledge.
Okay.
Then I will ask a question.
Wow.
Okay, now the contribution I want to make is just in line with what Isa Seka just mentioned. Of course, you have a lot of people who are fighting on these gender issues and sexual reproductive health. Be it CSOs, they are working in isolation. I believe they need to bring their efforts together so that there will be no duplication of what? Efforts.
Right.
So that they can all reach to the right people. And another thing is, this one is a pledge. Like if you look at it in the Gambia, most of the time, these CSOs are mostly focused on the rural areas. And sometimes some will be centered in the urban areas. But where I come from, the district where I come from, we find ourselves in that funny situation, which is Kombo East District. Now in Kombo East District, when these programs come for urban areas, they usually end at these great Banjul. And when it comes to the rural areas, they go use phoning beyond. So we are left in that funny situation. And we have a lot of issues that are happening there. Although we have an organization that is called Kombo East Youth and Children Development Alliance. And of course, we are trying to see how best we reach out to these CSOs to see that they come to our own aid and help our people. To an extent, in our organization, we have an umbrella that is standing for the Assembly for the Welfare of Girls and Young Women. But sometimes even to do some of our functions we usually find it very challenging because we don't have the funding like the CSOs and others.
Okay.
So we really love them to come to our aid.
That's a wonderful
Yeah,
contribution.
and my question is,
Yes.
yeah, like with the side of how to call it, I want to direct this question to the lady from Girls Agenda, that when it comes to menstrual hygiene and menstruation, what do they do? What do they do to help those girls, aside from giving them the knowledge on those issues?
Thank you very much. Mariama, so you just note that, and then we'll come back to you. There was a hand up around that end. So let's take the gentleman first. So it's balanced. I wouldn't want to be accused of a very biased session, so can we have the gentleman?
Oh, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Yeah, I am Musa S. Diao. Yeah, actually, I enjoyed the session. It is actually very educative. But anyway, I'm always against discrimination if it comes to any form, either you are a child, you are a man, in any aspect. But one thing that I always like to ask, it's good to advocate for equality. But sometimes the equality sometimes I feel like it is not, sometimes the way it is transpiring is not transpiring in the right way. Because nowadays, females at home, seriously, they are taking these rights that they are educated. What you are saying is gender equality. But they are taking it above gender equality. Because it's okay at home. It's very difficult for a man to scold a woman, but a woman can scold a man. We call it gender equality. Really? No, I'm coming. You know, when we do that, we always say it is abuse. Okay? So my just contributions goes to the panelists. Like when we are also educating them, let's each and everyone have their rights at home. Yes, you are a female, you know your rights, but make sure that you also give your husband or the man at home, give him also his due. Because if you want to take everything, we are all equal in all aspects, the marriage will not work.
Thank you very much,
Yes.
Mr. Gentleman. The panelists would come back to that. So I'll take two from this side, so the spring could be balanced. Oh, yes, I'll come to you. You're next.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
My name is Farmata MJD. And my question will be basically on sexual and gender-based violence, specifically talking about FGM. So we know female genital mutilation is a problem in the Gambia. And the ending of the last month, there were lots of problems and many discussions. So a culture that is termed as bad, it shouldn't be practiced. So what are you guys doing to ban that in the Gambia? Because it is still happening. The laws are there, but the National Assembly wanted to repeal it. I don't know whether they repeal it or not. But these laws, I think it should be strengthened by you guys so that it can be placed in the Constitution.
Thank you very much. So we have here, give the mic to the lady.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fatou S. Marega from LRR.
Okay.
I just want to take my question to the panelists regarding the engagement into sport when it comes to gender-based violence, because I am representing sport and women, and we face a lot of gender-based violence when it comes to sport. When we travel with teams, or even from our managers, our coaches, and then discrimination from the communities, and then from our fellow young men that do see us as, we want to make ourselves men, this is not meant for us. And this is the reason why we are depressing, we are not going forward, because we didn't have the support.
Right.
Even if you look at us, when we are playing our leagues or our games, you won't see much attention from us because they believe that girls shouldn't engage into sport. Okay. And then this is what I want to ask, if you guys are doing efforts into promoting young women and girls that are into sport.
Right, so we give them time to react to that quickly, then we will take a set of questions. I said, Mariama, there was a question on what specifically you do for these girls that you train on menstrual hygiene. Aside from providing that knowledge, what other initiatives or what other activities do you do with them?
Yes, as the Girls Agenda, we give them the knowledge, but also we do life skills trainings, where we train these girls on how to show these reusable parts, and also use our monitoring and evaluation mechanism to check on them whether they are practicing some of these things. But also, with all our activities, we make sure we provide a part package for each and every of our participants that they will use to take home and as a package to use.
Okay. So Isa too, there was a question on women overdoing or overstepping their rights and boundaries. I want you to address that.
I think the gentleman was talking about it all comes back to the misconception on gender-based violence. So we don't mean that when men are abused or men should be called at home or all, that's form of violence, isn't abuse. I don't know whether you have attended any GBV training, but like, come on, we normally tell them abuse is abuse. It doesn't matter which gender the person belongs to. As women, we always tell the ladies that this should not be done. A woman cannot be beating the wife. A wife cannot be beating the husband always. And they're always quiet. We have seen a man that, in my area, there is a woman that always beat the husband. You know? And the husband is always quiet. Anytime, even the colleagues in the community are always like, young am such about the do. Now he cannot even talk. When he's with his mates even, he don't even have a voice. And now when he tell the wife that I'm a fase, come on. Those are abuses. These are violence that men are going through. So these are misconceptions that are happening. We don't only mean that women are the only ones that are abused. They're not the only ones that are facing violence. But it's both the two genders, as I said earlier. And if you see any of those cases, please report. So when it comes to the lady here,
for the women in sports,
the lady that was talking about women in sport, we have seen previously even NYC have been doing a lot when it comes to advocacy. Even most of our activities and programs have been going into the sport fraternity. We have the National Sport Council that is really also doing a lot, but National Youth Council have been taking the lead when it comes to advocacy. So this is why we have been doing a lot of football tournaments to talk to our fellow young men and women that are into sport. But I believe that we have a lot of civil society organizations that are also here, and we will put that into consideration and give more attention to women in sport.
Yes, so quickly,
Before you go,
yes.
I just want to say, just as Isaac Seka has mentioned, abuse is abuse. And there is no other way to explain it better.
Right.
There are right authorities to report to. Do not take it as, oh, gorla, you know, there are the right authorities to report to.
Right.
The same way, there are right authorities to report to. So at all aspects, across the board, whoever it may be, abuse is just abuse. That's just one thing we should reinstate at all levels.
All right. So Kinta, I would want you to touch on two aspects of the conversation. One is the hotspot centers that they have been identified, and also the numbers as well, and then the FGM aspect that the lady asked. So from there, we will take other sets of questions from the ground.
I think there are hotspot numbers, there are hotspot numbers that we can call. I know UNFPA is really taking the lead when it comes to gender issues in the Gambia. And the hotline 1313, that is 1313, is something that we can always call. And some people will say it's not working. It is a hotline that is working. So you don't need credit to call using
it's
that
free.
hotline. Also, if you know of any advocate, it is always important if you see these present issues, report to them. Maybe they would have contacts in most cases that would help you to fast track the case or to ensure that the case reaches where it's supposed to reach. For the issue of FGM, of recent we've seen lawmakers in this country supposedly clothed in religion, saying that FGM is Islamic. We've seen National Assembly members stand at the National Assembly of the Republic of the Gambia, stand at the National Assembly of the Gambia chambers to talk about how FGM is a religious obligation and how women should follow that. And we've seen other women who are also in that same National Assembly who were beating the tables and clapping, and we are also saying that they are in for FGM. Until today, 24th of October 2023, FGM is illegal in the Gambia. And anyone who practices FGM should be taken to court and be jailed. That is what is in the law.
Okay.
Please, FGM is not a religious obligation. Whoever says FGM is a religious obligation, anyway, I would not want to go further. So far, there has been a lot of work that has been done regarding this. On the report, I'm talking to the person who asked the question.
Yes.
On the repeal of the law, however, the law is yet to be repealed, but we are the ones who are seated here. We are the ones voting in those names. Please, if you see a fanatic, if you see someone who is like an extremist or someone who you know this person is patriarchal in nature, why do you need to give your voter's card to that person? They are the same people who are throwing your bills away. They're the same people bringing harmful practices. You do not have vagina. You're talking about vagina. Who are you?
Okay, so we will take, because time is not on our side, I can only allow 5 questions. 5 questions, because time is not on our side. So I have one from there. 2 from Lala. Joko, the councillor, 3. And a child. A child, yes, 4. Yes, yes. And Fatam, the female rep, 5 questions. Then, male rep Hondu, it's my session. Hello. So let's do this, let's do this. No. So let's have these questions first. Then if time allows us, we can take another set. Yes, go on, please. Go on.
Good afternoon to you all. Thank you very much, our beautiful panelists. I am Yahya Jammeh. I'm the chairperson of Garo Banjul branch. There are a series of trainings happening in the Great Banjul area and parts of West Coast region. And my intervention will be, have you ever had programs with people with disabilities in the regions? If no, I think it is time for you to start working on this now, because persons with disabilities are really suffering in these areas. They're facing a lot of GBV issues around these areas. And I think it's important for you to start contacting their organization heads in here if you don't have any information about them. The other thing is there are, I think if you have not contacted schools, there are a lot of gender-based violence also happening in schools too. And there are a lot of harassments happening in schools as well, between colleagues or sometimes between teachers. So these things must not be entertained. And I supported Aisha too by saying women should be bold enough to contest positions, both Aisha too and Elizabeth Kinta. This is very true. I think it is time for us to start competing our men folks, because we also want positions too. If we have the qualification, why must we allow men to always lead us? This trajectory must change now. Right. We have to be very strong. And this is why, even in the deaf community, if you say Yahya Jammeh, people say, hey, no, that woman is very strong. That woman is an iron lady. Ask anyone, ask any deaf person. I am not an easy person. So I am someone that is, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the men folks. I'm trying to show people that what men can do, what men are doing, women can also do it as well. I've seen many things happening in other parts of the country, what deaf women are doing in Tanzania, in Nigeria, Ghana. So we want to do the same thing here. That is why I'm always advocating for that.
Thank you.
Sorry. Before, I think I was once a student at GTTI myself. What Kinta was saying is true. There are a lot of discriminations happening, or gender-based violence happening in schools. I think I just had conversation with one student at GTTI. I was just jokingly saying I wanted to contest as the president, but the guy said, no, you cannot be a president because you are a woman and you are also a deaf. So this is discriminatory.
Yeah.
And my last point will be, we have very little number of women in the National Assembly. This has been something that is not welcoming. And I think it is time for us to make sure the quota system, what we've been calling for, is there. Because we were looking forward to the draft constitution, but unfortunately we don't have it, as the previous speaker said. But I think it is now time for us to start having these things. If not, we can also do campaigns if we want to, so that we can get this thing. Because we shouldn't have men overcome women in the National Assembly. The Gambia is owned by everyone. We're also happy what the mayor of Banjul is doing, the one heading the Rafera group. So this is something that we want, and we want more of these things, or more of her, or more people like her to emerge in this country. Thank you very much.
Okay, so Lala, quickly, and then we would have, yes, the child, I remember. the child. No problem.
So I will keep it very brief. I actually did not intend to make any contributions in this session. I just had a lot of conversation around gender equality and GBV and how men and women go through abuse. And I agree with Jajusi when he said there is no way of justifying abuse. When it happens, it happens. And that's why it's called gender-based violence, not violence. There's violence against women and there's gender-based violence. So it means both men, women, and in other countries where people identify as other gender can also go through violence as well, right? But when you look at statistics and you look at data, especially studies that have been conducted in this country, data has shown that women are more prone to be victims and survivors of GBV in the Gambia. And when you look at the root causes of SGBV, you know it is because of key issues, including power imbalance, including patriarchal norms, including inequalities that exist in our societies. So when women talk about GBV and sexual violence they go through, it is not to say that men do not go through it. It is saying based on statistics and data, women are more prone to go through these things. Right. And looking at our existing realities, you see that even in cases where women go through these things, there are no great referral mechanism. So you go to a police station, let's say you go through sexual violence, or you're beaten by your husband, you go to a police station and it's an open space. There's no safe space for you to be taken into a safe room for the police to document your story. Right. There's no good referral pathways and mechanisms for women to openly share their stories of SGBV and try to get justice or hold their perpetrators accountable. So as young people, it's very important for us to have our mindset right, to have our perspectives right, backed up by data, by correct information, not just, oh, because men go through it, women go through it, we shouldn't be saying things affecting women. Women have gone through so much with SGBV. Just look at media reports. Trace it back to 3 years ago. Right. Every other week you're seeing a story of a college student being assaulted, a university student being almost raped, a woman being battered in her house. Domestic abuse, it happens every day in our homes. All of us has an uncle or a father or a brother that beats their wife. Right. So these are the things that we need to think about when we have these conversations. These are the things we need to think about when we engage policymakers who are in these positions of power and trying to repeal harmful laws against harmful practices, including FGM, which most of us are survivors drive
Yes,
us off. So I just, Mariam, I'm sure the time is done, but I just want us as young people to really keep these things in mind when we have conversations of SGBV and not be biased based on patriarchy and inequalities we were taught from when we were young.
Okay, so we have the one from NBR and then the child. Yes, so let's have her. Yes.
Thank you very much. My name is Yahya Jammeh. I'm from North Bank.
Yeah, do you mind if you...
Yes.
Please, right.
All right, thank you. I just want to contribute first before I ask this question, which is very important. I know we have a lot of people who are embarking or who are doing these sensitizations on gender-based violence, FGM, and other things. And it's important sometimes when we are dealing with these kind of things, we know how we discuss them, because one of the reasons is because of how we discuss these issues. You cannot tell students that gender-based violence about this. Sometimes we need to understand that gender-based violence will not reach our marriage when it comes to certain things. You cannot tell a child, imagine a marriage. Sometimes this can confuse people. So that is why sometimes it's important we know what we discuss with kids. At the end, then you fuck them, and that is why, because they think they should believe that's how they should behave anyhow, even in their marriages. And it's breaking a lot of marriages in our communities. The other issue is when it comes to child marriage, this is something that we have been discussing in communities and schools. And sometimes you go to communities, parents will be like, you are saying child marriage 18 years and children are getting pregnant before 18 years. So sometimes it becomes very difficult for us to answer because it's what is happening in our communities.
Right. Children
Children are getting pregnant, they are having children, they are not married, and they are moving on. They don't have any problem sometimes. You understand? So at the end, you'll be like, they should get married even before 18 years. It's a problem. I know we should still discuss about it, but we have to elaborate more, tell them the health issues so that they can be aware and they can understand some of these issues.
Yes, we respect that.
So,
Yai?
now,
Yai?
just please.
Yai, question.
Okay.
We have a child waiting.
Okay, this 13 I want to talk about here.
Yes.
I know it's within Combo, but I'm not sure it's in my region because...
At once. But I'm a little bit disappointed for the fact that such an important platform or subject matter shouldn't be discussed, and you don't have a woman with disability on the high table to discuss about issues affecting them. So I believe sometimes we need to put into that matter. Yeah? And second question, my question would be, that is my recommendation, and please put that into consideration. If you have discussions, allow them, give them the chance to talk about their own issues.
Okay.
And they will give you the first-class information.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. My question is, from all the panelists here, what are programs that you have specifically designed to look into detailed accounts of women and young girls with disabilities in the Gambia? I don't want to hear about your programs that you are trying to implement, inviting them as participants for workshops or trainings. I wanted to know the programs you have designed specifically to look into detailed accounts of women and young girls with disabilities, especially those in the rural Gambia.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, noted. So the councillor, then we have the child.
Thank you for giving me the floor.
Okay.
I just want to add on to what Aissatou has rightly mentioned. My names are Joko Fatunjai, a councillor in Bundum 6 Johnson Ward from KMC. Sorry. Yeah. And of course, the youngest and the first ever female candidate who won in the ward I came from. And of course, even from the party I contested from since 1996.
Wow.
So that shows that what a man can do, a woman can do it. So you've mentioned a lot here that the challenges we faced in politics, number one is financial and harassment, even our social beliefs. Yeah, they are all challenges that we are facing.
Okay.
But another challenge that we are facing is that women don't support their fellow women in leadership. Yeah.
That's a bitter pill to swallow, but it's the truth.
Yeah, because looking at the Gambian population, we are 53% here, we the females. We clap for the males, we support them, you know they hoti asobi, everywhere we follow them. But when it comes to leadership, women don't support their fellow women. And it is high time our voice have been heard when it comes to leadership position.
Right.
That's what I wanted.
Thank you very much, Honorable Councillor. Can we have give the child.
Good afternoon. My name is Honorable Usman Jai from KM. And sorry for the men. I'm not fighting for the men. I'm fighting for the women. Because they are our mothers, our wives, and our daughters. So I am fighting for them, sir. And my topic is about cyberbullying. I would like to advise my fellow men or boys, like, let us stop bullying women because they are our mothers, as I said. We have to stop bullying them. Like, when a woman is menstruating or having something, you should not say, kifum leke, duma fa leke, kifum nane, duma fa nani, kifum taama, duma fa taa. And that is not good. So, ko munte japale pour lu mo def. So mun nga ko be parce que joxuloo ko xamuloo ko ko jox lulu sun borom rek so ko mun tay jàppale rek bee ko like us the men we like bullying someone comme example man maa gis jaaxa bu rafet mu ngi romba jaaxa naka la yaay ba faalewul la nga ne ko ne yow sa wang bu ñaaw sa this and this and that is not good. True. So I want us men so that to help ourselves and help our mothers or our child, our wife, so that we'll help them to have their self well or have everything. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My rapporteur has been on my neck to allow him ask a question for the past 1 hour. So Kutubo, that will be the last question for the session.
Hello, assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon or good evening. I am Kutubo Sane. I'm a classroom teacher and I also work in the media. So I was very happy when Lala said that gender-based violence, and Jajusi, that when you talk about gender-based violence, you are talking about the both gender.
Yes.
So for that being the case, I want to decry that you have very discriminatory rape laws in this country that is seriously against men. Like, for instance, it's not just enough to accuse someone of rape and the person is remanded to mild to prison. That is very harsh. And I feel I want to be on record, and also I want to the panelists to enjoin me to actually lead that campaign, to look at that law that will jail somebody for just being accused of rape even before substantiating the rape case. And so that's my take. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think that was a solid recommendation. And on that note, I'm going to bypass protocols to allow Fatcham share a few words, and we will officially close this session. Fatcham, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before I start saying anything, I do not mind being labeled biased. It's okay with me, as it is normal. But what I want to say is, most often you hear them say women are competing men. So be it. Why wouldn't we compete if the space is there for us? The spaces are not created only for men to compete. So if they are seeing us as competitors, yes, we are competitors because we are competing for what we want. And we are competing for our own representation. We are not asking for equality if they think that is what it is. We are not asking for equality. We want to be where they are. We want to be on the table as they are on the table. We want to sit on a chair that they are sitting, because there is nothing that they can do that we cannot do. And when it comes to the political sphere, I do not like begging men to support women. You look at the population of this country, we form more than half of the Gambia's population. So what is stopping us from becoming presidents? What is stopping us from forming the majority at the National Assembly? What is stopping us from leading all the councils and municipalities in this country? It is not the fault of the men. It is our fault. Most often we say women supporting women, but that is just a phrase in the outside. It is not the reality on the ground. It is not. And the other thing is, you look at the legal framework for both women and children in this country. We do not have a single phrase a single phrase in the Women and Children Act that talks about attempted rape. And these are cases that are even more severe and serious than rape itself. People that suffer from attempted rape are also traumatized as any other person, or even as rape victims. You look at the implementation of the law. There is no law that is even implemented. All we have is they will tell us these are laws, this is what you brought on the table, but none of the implementation is effective. The only thing that they will do, sometimes you go to police stations, it is the police that will beg on behalf of the rapists, as you may call them. They will be like, ñun ñep fi lañ deka. So amna yo xamantene yow waru loko wa. Luta yow waru loko wa. If they are raped, let them talk. I am 100% supporting every woman that is beating a man. Because until they started feeling the pain that we feel when we are beaten, they will never stop beating us. As for me, I am looking for any man that I can beat.
Thank you very much, Facham. I think we deserve to give ourselves... Suleiman, how much time do I have left? Are all the sessions done? Can we move on? 10 minutes. So now you give my panelists the time to respond to the questions, and I will see if it's needed to take maybe 2 more questions. So my panelists, please. Yes, so I think Kinta wanted to talk on that part too. That is, what specific programs do you have for women?
Okay, you can come for that.
Living with disabilities.
Question.
Yes, go on.
Okay, in terms of the disability that Adama asked, whether we included them in our activities. Yes, from the girls.
A week or 2 ago, we were at the United Nations National Youth Consultation, where we spoke about a lot of things. One thing that, and I was fortunate to be leading the Human Rights, Gender and Inclusion class. One thing that we spoke about from my class, taking it as a resolution at that consultation, was to ensure that persons living with disability, especially women, are included from the time of planning to the time of implementation. Not just to have an activity and invite them, get a sign language interpreter. However, counting starts with 1. There used to be activities in this same country where persons living with disability were never included or invited to. And then we've advocated, that is where it starts, we've advocated that persons living with disability should be in those activities and know what is happening. Thankfully now, I know of a lot of civil society organizations who would not conduct their activities without including persons living with disability. Moving from that, you have sometimes people who are hard of hearing, but then when they sit in those forums, they are just decorative individuals seated there, and they do not understand a thing of what is happening unless they read. That is, if they can read. And moving from that, we've now graduated to have people who would interpret, become sign language interpreters. And one of the recommendations that was given at the consultation is to ensure that sign language interpretation or sign language itself is a language that every young person is interested in. So that when they have to communicate, they would not have to be picking and choosing who to communicate with or struggle to communicate with anybody, because it is their right to communicate. So I believe this is one thing that most of us have been working towards to ensure that we reach to that goal.
Ms. Gomez, I'm afraid I've been given bunches of letters to keep it short. So this was all time has allowed us, but kindly I indulge on all of us to rise up. Please, if you guys don't mind, can we just rise up for a few seconds? Yes, so we're going to read an affirmation. If you believe in it as a lady that has a prospect to serve, it doesn't matter in what capacity someday, you can read after me. If you're a guy and you feel you're going to do this for your sister in the house or anyone that you believe is a lady but has the potential to lead, you can equally read as well, since it's a free one. So we say empower a woman to lead.
Empower a woman
until shatter not only the glass ceiling, but also every stereotype that ever held her back. Don't wait for a seat at the table. Build your own table. Let others rally around your leadership. I want all of us to claim it. Let's put it on our chest. Thank you very much. It was a very interesting session, and then we thank all of you for your questions and the comments. We are sorry this was all time has allowed us. We couldn't address all the questions, but we are glad it was a very successful session. Thank you very much to my panelists as well. Yes, so you're also reminded to be here on time tomorrow, because it's a tighter schedule, so we can finish early and you can all head to your respective homes. And please, we kindly indulge on all of us to pick up the empty bottles as we move out of the hall. Thank you so much.
How can you see Ukrainians, Belarusians or Armenians as foreigners and these places as foreign countries? It's very difficult. In Russia, by dissolving the organization entirely, but it simply has no practical political significance anymore.
The Baltic states played a special role. Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania were the first to break away from the Soviet Union and successfully pursue their own path. Their relationship to Russia is frosty. Vilnius, the Lithuanian capital. The viewing platform of the TV tower is a popular attraction. From here, one can see how the city has changed. In the last 20 years alone, around 50,000 new apartments have been built, more than anywhere else in the Baltic states. In the center is the country's parliament. Since independence, it is known again as the Seimas. Ruslana Sparanovas is a philosophy graduate and works for an MP of the Social Democrat Party.
We've integrated into the European Union and the West, and our living standards have increased. The borders were opened up for us, and many Lithuanians emigrated to Western Europe. But at the same time, our main problem is inequality. Inequality of incomes, unequal opportunities.
But then the exodus began. 900,000 Lithuanians left the country. Young people especially, most of them well educated, went to find work in the West, a huge problem for a small republic. Despite this, the capital and the country as a whole has embraced the modern world. Annual economic growth has long been around 3%, and Lithuania has one of the best fiberglass internet networks in all of Europe. But Lithuanians also have a strong sense of national history and identity. These photos in the parliament recall the independence movement of 1989.
Our history is our guide, and many things that are going on.
We are back again to bring you another brand new edition of the Good Morning Africa program right here on Africa TV.
Place bi ko jox la amat problème du area rek man loolu la len wax. Ministry bo am na fa ñoo xamné ni bay neen bu bëgga dé té ay masters leen am té ñu ci ministry bi.
Da so gisé nguri Africa ñu baña wacc. Lu ndé yaxa mo dé bari.
Ñu so sé des sub-region fi, c'est Gambia mo gëna cher fuel. Digëna Gambia Sénégal $15 different, $16 different.
So ñu ngane président Adam Barrow, Gambia ultimately dañ téguer bop wala ba sonna.
Good morning, Neoli Barena, Young Magazine Bombor, I'm ready for a good day. Morning, Neoli Barena.
Although bad breath and other related mouth issues can be a total turn-off to many people. Are you suffering from either of the above? Then your mouth problems are solved with Long-Reach Multi-Effect Toothpaste. Long-Reach Multi-Effect Toothpaste is a fluoride-free toothpaste made with white tea plant, which is very effective for fresh lasting breath, prevents tooth decay, relieves toothache, stops gum bleeding, prevents bad breath, strengthens gum, brightens teeth, and many others. Long-Reach toothpaste, rich in antibacterial, antifungal, and antioxidant agents, can be used by both children and adults. Our whitening formula will leave you with a radiant smile, while our gentle formula will help elevate any tooth sensitivity you may experience. Our Long-Reach toothpaste is reliable and affordable. The 200 gram is just for $350 and the 100 gram is just for $175. For more details about our Long-Reach toothpaste, you can call us both direct and via WhatsApp on 2221797. Long-Reach toothpaste, it's here for all your mouth problems.
mbokk yi asalaamaaleykum jërë ngeen jëf ci fasante kóllëre gi ci Eyeafrica TV kaddu gi di bawoo ci Wellingara juróom-ñaari waxtu moo jot ba tegal fanweeri simili ak benn bisimila ci xibaar yi. ñu dooree kook bëpp xibaar yi bokk na ci alkaatib réew mi wër bés door ñu duppee ko special security operation ñoo ngi koy wéyal ci altine ji ñoo ngi woon nag ca Wellsfield ak ca Serekunda des na ko yaatal ci biir xibaar yi. ki nekkoon finance director bu Basse Area Council moo ngi wéy di nettali nu mu daa doxalee ca council ba ak nag yenn ci njuuj njaaj yees koy tudd des na ko yaatal ci biir xibaar yi. jëwriñal mbootaayu xeet yi maanaam United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres daal dina xamle ne Israël dañoo reqat sartaay àq ak yelleefu nit ki maanaam humanitarian law bokki li muy tënkub xibaar yi neskis ma dikk ci yaatal gi. ñaar fukki fan ak talaata ñaar fukki fan ak ñeent ci weeru octobre ci atum ñaari junni ak ñaar fukk ak ñett xibaaru marax yi ci kàddu gi Mouhamed Mbaye Garmi ci xarala gi Khadija Si ak Jaaray Silla bisimila ñu jukki xibaar yi. ki nekkoon finance director ca Basse Area Council ba tey nag moo ngi janoo ak kuréel guy luñutu gu yu suufe yi maanaam local government commission moom Lamine Suso nag daal dina nettali naka la nag doon jëflanteek ak Vista Bank ak itam nag lañ ko rek gantale juróom fukki junni yes rek bëggoon a génne maanaam rek withdraw moom Lamine Suso nag daal dina xam la ne rek yéene jës rek amoon ci xaalis boobu nag muy rek nee na fanweeri junni yi moom lañu rek naroon jox rek ki nga xam ne wala sax fayee padiyam ki nga xam ne mooy rek chairman bi ñaar fukki junni yi nag nag yi ci des ñu daal di ko jébal moom mu daal di ci rek am yenn rek mbir yu mu ci def yoo xam ne dafay ñeel council bi mu daal di it nag xamle yu bari ci rek njuuj njaaj gis ko doon tudd moom Lamine Suso teg na ci dem nag withdrawal yi nga xam ne mi ngi ko doon def maanaam xaalis yi mu doon rek daal di génne ci rek sàq yi maanaam rek ci account yi loolu itam daal di na ko rek firnde moom nag lu ëpp ñetti ayu bés maanaam 3 weeks mi ngi doon janoo ak nag kuréel guy lu ñu tungur yu suufa yi maanaam local government commission bi moom mi nga xam ne nag mooy Lamine Suso nekkoon nag finance director maanaam rek ki nga xam ne moo nekkoon ex finance director ca Basse Area Council ginnaaw nag ba mu daal di jeexale ak laaj yi nga xam ne tontu laaj nañ ko ci rek ay tuuma yes teg ci kawam ci ñu ko fa jiitu te doon nag liggéey foofee ca Basse Area Council doon ko tudd moom finance director boobule di rek Lamine Suso moom nag daal dina it indi ay leeral ci mbir mi am na yu bari yoo xam ne nangu na ko ci ay njuuj njaaj yoo xam ne rek ni moom moo ko daal di def foofu lu jëm ci ay xaalis ak itam lu jëm ci rek nu ñu daan dajalee galak maanaam rek lii di revenue collection foofee nag ca Basse Area Council léegi nag ki nga xam ne moo di CEO bi moo tàmbalee nag di janoo ak nag kuréel gi ngir rek moom it daal di rek indi ay leeral ci yi nga xam ne rek daal di nañ ko ci rek tudd ca biir ca fa nga xam ne mooy ca Basse Area Council. ñu wax ci leneen alkaati yi ñoo ngi wéyal seen wër bés door ngir rek jëlee képp ku samp mbaa nga rek nekk ci kaw yoon wi moo xam nag taabal nga yor mbaa rek cantine ci bisub nag ñetteelu fan wi ñoo ngi woon nag ca Westfield ak ca Serekunda foofu nag daal di nañu fa toj ay cantine ak i nag taabal ak ki nga xam ne it nag moo jiite wàllu opération bi nag ci biir alkaati yi daal dina nag xam le ne amul dellu ginnaaw ci rek mbir moomule ñu teewlu yaatal gi. ci fukki fan ak juróom-ñeent ci weeru octobre ci la alkaati réew mi dooree ab wër ñu dippee ko special security operation ngir jëlee ñi samp ay cantine mbaa taabal ci kaw yoon yi ñu dooree ko ca Sting Corner dem Joswang Jimpex Westfield ci altine ji ñoo ngi woon ca Serekunda doon wéyal opération bés tàmbali ngir jëlee képp ku nekk ci kaw yoon yi mbaa nga yor fa ab cantine mbaa tabax des na ko màbbal Landing Bojang di assistant inspector general of police doon ki jiite wàllu opération ci biir alkaati yi daal dina xamle ne liggéey bi ñuy amal ngir setal yoon yi des ñu ci dellu ginnaaw te képp ku ñu fekk nga toog ci ab place bu fiitee ci yoon wi des na ko toj te dinañu la teg loxo.
waaw loolu moom ñoom ñoo joxe seen bopp ñi ñëw ne la génneel lii jagut ñu woon leen we come back finally there dañ la arrest dinañ daaneel sa place ba pare dinañ la arrest yes loolu duñ ko spare kenn bi ko dégg nañ ko te yëg nañ ko te li process bi ni moo demee nii sax ñu bari yëg nañ ko xam ne ne ñu ngi muuf waaye ba tey ñu ngi toog kuñ fa fekk te yaa ngi ci obstacle dinañ ko daaneel muy néeg muy cantine dinañ ko daaneel.
am ñenn ci borom cantine yi ak borom taabal yi yes jëlee ci kaw yoon yi di ñaxtu ne yëguñu ko Mr Bojang daal di leen tontu ne loolu du lay ndax ñëpp yëg nañu ko ndax mbir mi tàmbali naa wër.
yëg nañ ko lii depuis last month 1 month ago. This advertisement was going and this public announcement was going. They knew it very well. C'est nga biñ commencé lii ak léegi from Joshua it's have circulated ñu ñaa ngi watch TV radios ñu ngi koo dégg xam nañ ne will come around so seen borom nekku wax ni ko daf laa wax ne xamul ko xam na ko.
mu ngi daal di xam ne ñu ci bari ci doomu réew mi du ñuy faral di seetaan seeni télé yi réew yi moo waral lu bari di xew di leen rëcc.
Gambie fi mu nekk dañ war a change the mindset we have dañ war a passé loolu Gambie bi da nga gis mu toog 24 hours du watch téléem benn channel indi Gambie du ko check Sénégal la wala mu dem bitim réew ay football ak ay film waaye pour ñu time news jot ñu jàppa news of what is happening in that country Gambia bi amul joti loolu you know that kind of mindset dañ ko war a change we need to move forward so yow boo du seet sa TV bi seet doo dégg sa radio yi nag ngaa déggee xibaar ana dañoo dem kenn ku nekk sa néeg di la wax xibaar du la wax xibaar de ah and then that's not an excuse to the law.
assistant inspector general bu police di Landing Bojang daal dina xam ne liggéey bi dinañu ko wéyal ngir setal peggu yoon yi ngir yoon yi set teg ci l'accident yi ak yoon yu xat yi maanaam trafic jam ngir mu saafarawu Mohamed Mbaye Garmi, Eyeafrica TV. ngok mbokk yi ñu wéyal xibaaru marax yi jëwriñal mbootaayu xeet yi maanaam United Nations Secretary General di Antonio Guterres ci ba muy àddu ci tolluwaayu Gaza daal di nag xamle ne luy rek xew ca Gaza lu ko yitteel la muy rek xamle ni Israël dafa rek daal di xëtt sartaay ak yelleefu nit ki maanaam international humanitarian law nee nag loolu yi les di rek nemmeeku ca Israël di rek amal ci kaw Gaza moom Antonio Guterres nag teg ci di xamle ne doomu Palestine yi des rek yàgg di dund fitna lu toll nag ci juróom fukki at ñu leen rek di gumbu xatal teg ci nag nangu seeni suuf yi nërmeleel seen koom gi bu ñu nag sukkandikoo ci moom ba tey daal dina xamle ne askanu Palestine des leen rek toxal ci seen rek kër yi teg ci nag toj ko mu teg ci nag ne yaakaar ges rek am ngir rek am saafara ci jafe-jafe yes di dund antogul moom nag di Antonio Guterres daal di xamle ne ñi nga xam ne ñoo di Israël dañoo rek daal di xëtt lu jëm nag ci wàllu sartaay rek ak yelleefu nit ki muy rek yi nga xam ne mooy rek international humanitarian rek law loolu yi nag la Israël daal di xëtt moo waral nag cong googee ñuy amal ci gaw Gaza dëppoowul rek ak li nga xam ne mooy sartaay ak yelleefu nit ki. ñu wax ci leneen ay soxna ca réewum Iceland ak nag seen ilimaanu jëwriñ ji maanaam prime ministre ci talaata ji nag ñoo ngi doon amal doogaanu ñaxtu maanaam strike mu bokk nag ci xeex bés di xeex ngir rek ñu amal ak yemale ci wàllu góor ak jigéen maanaam gender equality ci réew ma foofee di Iceland bi la yoon nag mooy juróom-ñaareelu yoon ñuy rek amal ñaxtu jëme nag ci wàllu gender equality ñu ko nag sookee maanaam organisation daal di nañu rek xamle ne doogaanu ñaxtu wu njëkk ñoo ngi ko rek amal ci ñaar fukki fan ak ñeent ci weeru octobre ci atum junni ak juróom-ñeenti téeméer ak juróom-ñaar fukk ak juróom maanaam 1975 ci leen rek amal doogaanu ñaxtu woowule jëmee nag ci wàllu gender equality ci réew ma foofee boobu nag doogaanu ñaxtu wi ñoo ngi ko dippee Women's Day of ñoo ngi ko nag amal ngir rek yee askan wi ci rek beddi maanaam discrimination ak gumbu xatal jigéen yes rek di nemmeeku ca réewum Iceland muy rek ay jumbo xatal yoo xam ne rek dañ koy teg jigéen ñi réew ma ñu koy rek daal di dund foofee ñoom i nag daal di nañu génn doon rek amal doogaanu ñaxtu ñoom ñëpp lànk ne duñu rek daal di liggéey yi képp koo xam ne rek ab soxna nga yore rek ab place ca rek réew ma da ngay rek daal di toog waaye nag génnoon nañ ñaxtu doon rek wane itam li nga xam ne mooy rek les leen di beddi waaye itam nag lu jëm ci wàllu rek gender based violence muy rek ay mu xatal yoo xamee ne des koy teg ci kaw jigéen yooyu rek yewoo ca rek réewum Iceland loolu nag bëgg nañu ngir mu dakk ngir nag it wàllu tolloo muy rek gender equality ñu daal di koy rek nemmeeku itam nag ci réew ma foofu loolu derog na xeex bu yàgg bu ñu sumb waaye itam ba tey ñu ngi koy wéyal gi nga xam ne mooy doon nag wala sax mooy seen rek prime ministre bi daal dina ci nag bokk ci boobu rek doogaanu ñaxtu ñu doon amal ci réewum Iceland. ñu wéyal xibaar yi juróom-ñaari waxtu jot na ba bootal ñeent fukki simili ak ñaar ci Eyeafrica TV xibaaru marax yi njiiti réew Sénégal di Macky Sall sàkku na ci jëwriñ yi mu ñu rek wàññi seen rek tukki ya ca rek bitim réew maanaam rek daal dina sàkku ci ministère mi ngir rek ñu daal di wàññi tukki yeeg nga xam ne rek ñu ngi koy amal biti réew njiiti réew ma nag di Macky Sall daal ak bëgg tënk jëwriñam yi ci rek Sénégal ngir ñu bañ tukki biti réew ci nag ndiisoog jëwriñ ya woon ci àllarba ji weesu maanaam cabinet meeting moom njiiti réewum Sénégal di Macky Sall sàkku na ci ay jëwriñam maanaam ministre am ngir rek ñu yemale seen tukki ca rek bitim réew ba sukkandikoo nag ci l'observateur muy rek ab yéenekaay ca réewum Sénégal mi joxe rek xibaar bi njiiti réew mi nag terewu leen ko rek mu leeral na ko waaye nag daa leen rek xamal ne léegi nag malaamiso yi ak njiital wara bi koom yi ñooy rek teewal nguuru ko Sénégal ci rek xew yi ñuy rek amal di rek dëne maanaam rek xew yi nga xam ne dañ leen ci rek invite ca bitim réew lu dul nag ne daa doon rek ndaje yoo xam ne des ci rek fay rek yittewoo torlook jëwrin yi wala rek bootal yi maanaam ministre yi mbaa rek directeur yi lu dul loolu nag moom mu ngi daal di rek sàkku ci ñi nga xam ne ñoo di jëwriñ ñi maanaam ministre yi ñu daal di rek dakkandil tukki yi nga xam ne rek ñu ngi koy amal biti réew te nag daal di toog ci réew ma moom Macky Sall nag di soññu jëwriñam yi ngir rek ñuy toog lu yàgg ci biir réew ma te nag jéem a gën a jege askan wi ak di topp nag tolluwaayu liggéey yi ñuy rek doxal foofee ca réewum Sénégal. mbokk yi ñu wax ci leneen bu ñu jógee ci réewum Sénégal wax ci lu jëm nag ci kubbiteeg dig maanaam booda ci diggante Égypte ak Gaza tax na nag ñu dugal ndiiraan gu njëkk maanaam convoy ak nag ay daamaar yu mag maanaam trox def nag ay bagage su ndimbal jëmee nag ci askan wi nekk ca Gaza ci gaaw gi maanaam satudee yooyu ndimbal nag réewum Égypte ci seen lëkkaloo ak mbootaayu xeet yi ñoo ko rek amal ngir jàppale ko junni doomu Palestine yi nekk ci réew ma di rek dund xiif ak ay jafe-jafe ngir rek jeexitalu xeex ba diggub rafa wi nag maanaam rafa booda wi ci diggante Égypte ak Gaza ubbi nañu ko ngir fexe nag yenn ci ay ndimbal mën a rek yegg ci réewum Palestine ngir rek askan wi nekk di rek dund te nag amuñu ndox mbaa lekk ak itam nag garab ngir rek daal di faju boobu ndiiraan wu njëkk maanaam convoy bi njëkk dugg ci rek gaaw gi ñetti daamaar la rek maanaam trox yu rek yëpp ay ndimbal yooyu nag ndimbal bokk na nag ci wàllu dund ndox ak it nag yeneen i xeetu ndimbal res ci rek daal di dëxëñ lu toll nag ci ñaar fukki daamaar yu mag maanaam 20 trucks ak ñetti daamaar yu rek def ndimbalu mbootaay gi yor rek wàllu dund ci rek mbootaayu xeet yi muy rek WFP World Food Programme ñoo rek njëkk a dugg ca réew ma njiital kuréel gi yor nag wàllu dund gi ci biir mbootaayu xeet yi maanaam executive director bu World Food Programme daal dina fësal nag xel mu dal ci rek ba ñu ubbee dig yi ngir rek ndimbal yi mën a rek yegg ci réewum Palestine mu daal di nag xamle ne lu toll ci ñaar fukki daamaar yu mag maanaam trox dugg nañu ngir rek yóbbu ay ndimbal ca Gaza muy xam ne nag ne bég na lool ndax nag lu bari ci ay bagages yi dugg nag bokk na ci ay bagages yuy rek xettali askan wi mu teg ci nag di xamle ne dinañu rek séddale bagages yi ci biir réew mi ngir rek askan wi jote ci mu teg ci nag ne ndimbal li yemul rek ci daamaar yi dugg rek waaye nag am na yeneen yu rek war a dugg ñoo ngi sàkku nag ngir ñu gën a yaatal dig yi ngir rek ñu mën a daal di jàll ci jàmm ngir yóbbu ndimbali ci biir Gaza kuréel gi yor nag dund gi ci mbootaay yu xeet yi maanaam WFP di World Food Programme daal dinañu nag xamle ne ñoo ngi yore lu toll ci juróom-ñetti téeméeri tonnes ci ay ndimbal moo ngi rek ci wetu dig bu rafa maanaam rafa booda te noppi nañu ngir nag dugal ko biir Gaza mbootaayu xeet yi nag daal di xamle ne ci ba fitna yi dooree ak léegi lu toll ci juróomi téeméeri junni doomu aadama ak ñaar fukk jot nañu rek ci ndimbalu mbootaayu xeet gi yor dund gi seen nag yéene mooy lu toll ci 1 million ci doomu aadama bu tegal téeméeri junne bëgg nañu rek ñu daal di jote ci ndimbal li fii ak ñaari weer ci kanam. mbokk yi boobule ponk moo ñu yóbbu break bu ñu dellusiwaatee wéyal xibaaru marax yi ci Eyeafrica TV.
Good morning.
We are back again to bring you another brand new edition of the Good Morning Africa program right here on Eyeafrica TV.
place bi ko jox la amat problème du area rek man loolu laa leen wax. ministre bi am naa fa ñoo xam ne bay neen ba bëgg a dee te ay masters leen am te ñu ci ministre bi.
ndax soo gisee nguuri Afrique ñu bañ a wàcc lu ndee yaaxa moo di bari.
ñun soo seetee soppi jon fii seen Gambia moo gën a seer fuel diggante Gambia Sénégal $15 different $16 different.
soo ñëwee nga ne président Adama Barrow Gambia ultimately dañu dëgër bopp wax naa ba sonn naa.
Good morning. Newoli Barena. Young Magasi Bombor. I'm ready for a good day. Morning. Newoli Barena. Safari.
Ngok mbokk yi dalal leen ak jàmm ci xibaaru marax yi ñu wéyal ko juróom-ñaari waxtu jot na ba tegal ñeent fukki simili ak juróom-ñaar ci Eyeafrica TV ñu wéyal xibaar yi ak li gën a fës yéenekaay yi.
ñu compoos la ci li gën a fës yéenekaay yi bokk yi mbaa jàmm ngeen am ñun dey moom la ñu fanaanu ubbil ma yéenekaay bi standard xëy bind ci xëtam wu njëkk démb attekaay bu kawe bi tudd na atteb UDP wi lu jëm ci xelalkatu njiiti réew yi maanaam presidential advisers ginnaaw ba Ibrahima Diba ak langam gi di UDP yóbbee mbir mi ci yoon ngir rek ñu neenal faluk xelalkatu njiiti réew mi ndax nag dañoo jàpp ne àndul ak yoon atte bi tudd nañu ko démb ngir rek ñu sëgg ci atte bi ñiy layal UDP ak Ibrahima Diba di Nene Thiam ak Yakumba Jeete atte bi nag dàq nañu ko fa fanweeri fan ak benn ci weeru octobre ngir rek ñu wéyal ko ubbil ma weneen xët Balla Gaba Diakhompa nekkoon fi jëwriñ maanaam rek ministre ak nag Malamiso maanaam diplomate daal dina dellu ginnaaw ci yéene ji mu amoon ngir rek doonub rek la wax maanaam candidate ci jongante yi tànn njiiti réew yi ci atum 2026 moom Gaba Diakhompa ñu gën koo xamee ci Ansoman daal dina rek xamle ne fi mu rek toll ni le yitteem jépp mooy rek APRC nes koy rek dajale waate mu daal di xamle ne ngoram du ko rek may ngir rek mu bàyyi APRC di rek làng gu mu yàgg bokk mu def ci lu toll ci ñaar fukki at ak juróom-ñeent mu teg ci nag ne dina rek def lépp ngir rek làng gi doon rek benn ubbil ma weneen xët docteur Barry moom la ñu tabb ngir rek mu doon ki topp ci njiital Sénégal Gambia permanent secrétariat mu wuute nag Mohamed Diallo mi ko nekkoon ginnaaw nag ba ñu ko tabbee ngir rek mu doon vice président moom docteur Thierno Diallo léegi mooy rek député secrétariat ca rek barab boobu ubbil ma yéenekaay bi voice xëy bind ci xëtam bu njëkk attekat bi di justice Ibrahima Jaite daal dina révoque béelub ñetti senior government officiel béel bi mi ngi woon rek ci njëgu juróomi million ñoom ñett nag des leen teg ay daan ci rek wàllu luubal daal dinañu ko nag yokk ci fukki million ak juróom-ñeent teg ci nag laaj leen seeni rek kayiti tukki maanaam rek travel documents yépp ngir rek mu bokk ci bill bi bu ñu sukkandikoo ci yéenekaay bi teg nañu seen kaw lu toll ci ñaar fukki daan ak benn maanaam 21 charges bokk na ci luubal ubbil ma weneen xët alkaatib réew mi maanaam Gambia Police Force ak ñu ñuy lëkkalool ñoo ngi wéyal seen wër gi àgg nañu Serekunda daal dinañu rek tocc bépp tabax mbaa cantine bu rek nekkoon foofu te nag waru faa nekk bu ñu sukkandikoo ci yéenekaay bi am na ñenn ñu doon jéem a fipp waaye nag teewul alkaati yi wéyal nañu seen liggéey toppal xibaar yi ci Eyeafrica TV.
kon nag Garmi tëjal.
ñu nga bokk yi xibaar yi yóbbu ponk moo koy ndar képp ñu dig leen daje ci leen jotaayu xibaar bu ci yàlla àndee lu dul loolu ba leen di ànd ak programme mu télé bi di Eyeafrica TV télé bi daj Afrika buur yi mucc ak muccule saa borom am na ko ku mu muccal nga mucc bokk yàlla nañu muccal ñu fanaan jàmm.